let me just pick up the issue of the peace board. No, we were not invited on that particular initiative. But from our perspective as Kenya, it is important that institutions such as the United Nations be strengthened because the whole aspect of peace architecture globally is anchored around the UN framework. And that is why you have the Peace and Security Council, which is a global entity recognized internationally as the bastion of matters relating to peace initiatives globally in terms of what should be the level of intervention, what kind of interventions, and so forth. So we believe that multilateralism is the way to go. And I think if there are issues, it's good to reform the UN rather than create parallel processes if we want to have a coordinated approach. That is the position that Kenya holds on this particular matter. On the issue of what are the benefits that accrue since we signed the structured partnership on labor mobility, I may not be able to give you specific data at this point in time, but it has, the initial position is that we are seeing a more structured approach between those who want to move and take advantage of opportunities in Germany in terms of skill direction, skill identification. So it is not what you call a haphazard migration. We want to use it more positively, what you would call productive mobility. And to attain productive mobility, then we have to have a structured process. That is what this agreement between us and Germany seeks to have. So we will see the results further down the line, and I'm sure they will be positive for both countries. I'm not worried about brain drain. Kenya is churning out a lot of skilled people, and international opportunities are equally important for them, just as much as opportunities locally are critical. But we are not worried about any brain drain at all.
Nor am I. Nor am I. And I think both sides will profit from this very structured process. To tell you perhaps a little bit a ridiculous story I read in my local newspaper in the very north of Germany, where I'm living, very close to the border to Denmark, but we are lacking on bus drivers. And the last 5 bus drivers which arrived there, very, very skilled ones, were Kenyans. So everybody appreciated that they arrived. They are doing the job very diligently and very good. So it's running, it's functioning, and I don't see any obstacles for both of our sides. So in the end of the day, I think both sides will profit. But it's a structured process. We're not in a hurry, but we need what really to do on both sides. With regard to the refugees, I'm not very familiar with that very case, but as far as I heard, these nearly 200 people returned already to Germany, so that was managed. And of course, the migration issue is one of the core issues we have to really cover both on our sides. So we are in a very close dialogue between our interior ministries on that.
Now, regarding my colleague's remark on the UN system, I can only fully support what my colleague said. We have a peace council, and that is the United Nations. We need to reform it. We need to make it more effective. There are many good reasons to do that, and this is what I understood from the US president in the last hours as well, when he left Washington, he clearly said that this system does not need to be replaced, but it needs to be reformed and it needs to become more effective. And you know, the UN 80 initiatives of the Secretary General, Germany fully supports it. We have, beyond that, additional ideas, and we absolutely believe that Africa needs to be better, more represented at the Security Council that still reflects the world after 1949. So a lot is to be done. We are focused on doing that. And beyond that, I think the Federal Chancellor will have an opportunity to talk to the US President today and discuss ideas that we have. And the answers you asked for have not yet been defined, but we will have a good dialogue and we'll stay engaged.
Excellencies, if you allow and with your permission, we'll have another round, quick round, starting with Susan.
Yeah, my name is Susan von Lojewski. I'm the Bureau Chief of ZDF German in Nairobi. So I have questions to both of you, Your Excellencies. If you look at investments in Africa, as you mentioned, Mr. Wadefuhl, they are very little, and Germany is not even under the 10 best partners in Africa. So what can you do to encourage German industry to invest in Africa? Moreover, because we need new markets. Everything is going crazy in this world, and this is a continent of 1.4 billion people. So what can you do to encourage the German industry to get more risk investing it? And to you, the Prime Minister, additionally, what can the Kenyan government do to encourage the German industry in terms of administration, fighting corruption, and all these things? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that is all. You wanted to ask her? Okay, very good.
Yeah, the region is currently plunged into a lot of conflicts: Sudan, South Sudan, Somalia. There have been a lot of bilateral engagements, but we see the problem still persistent. Are there any ways Kenya and Germany are trying to come up with a new approach to bring this to a definitive end as it is currently?
Thank you very much, Excellencies.
Yes, our conversation also touched the regional conflicts, and especially, of course, the unfortunately overseen conflict in Sudan. We both share the hope that the international community is able to pay more attention on this very conflict, because a lot of people are very suffering there, and it's a very dire situation. And as we very much hope that the Gaza conflict will go into the second phase, there will be more international attention on that. And what both of us can contribute to bring both sides together in a conversation room under one roof, we will do so. As far as I understood, both of us have made several attempts, but unfortunately, per now, we've not been effective and not brought them together. But this is very much needed. We need a humanitarian ceasefire as soon as possible in order to be able to provide the people with the humanitarian aid there, and we are coordinating our efforts commonly. Afrika ist für Deutschland ein Chancenkontinent.
Africa is a continent of opportunities for Germany. This has long been overlooked. We have had a greater focus on the north and the south, and have neglected, unfortunately, everything that is in between. So it is no coincidence that I start my visit here with my international engagement on the African continent, because I believe what we have seen here so far is really below our potential. When I talk to company representatives, and that's what I did while traveling here, they also address risks, of course, but it belongs, I told them that it, of course, is part of business to undertake some risks, and maybe we need to be smarter what we can do on the German side. KfW was mentioned. We have European tools. They are not fully working yet. or are not fully working as they should. And so we see, unfortunately, from my perspective, we see that there is Chinese activity before we come in, is more effective before we come effective. And I think this is a lesson we need to learn. We need to become more flexible. We need to be faster. This is also a message I will take back to Brussels with me, because what I see here, and if I'm not mistaken, it applies to many other potential partner countries, there is a great willingness to work with Germany and Europe because we are seen as a reliable, valuated partner, and we have no other interests but a mutually beneficial economic cooperation that benefits both sides.
Thank you. Let me just start with the investment angle there. As I said, we have already 120 German companies operating in Kenya, not just in Kenya, but also within the region. And certainly we would like to have more companies. As you will notice in the statement that I did read a few minutes ago, I also indicated that there are programs that support the energy and renewable energy sector. So we are likely to see more investment in this space and also in other areas. Secondly, I think it's important to recognize that Kenya signed the EPA agreement. So we intend to take full advantage of this agreement to encourage more trade and more partnerships between Kenya and Germany, and also by extension the entire Europe. I also want to quickly highlight that the Africa Continental Free Trade Area is on the cards, and this is a big opportunity for our friends and partners beyond the continent to plug in so that we can diversify our portfolio of investments and programs. I think the tariff message, as painful as it may be, becomes a clear signal that all countries need to broaden the economic portfolio. And the area that is likely to have a lot of potential for growth is going to be the African continent. And this is where I would pitch and encourage German companies to really look at Africa as a growth area and as an area for serious diversification, both in terms of minerals, in terms of other assets that can be beneficial to economic growth. On corruption, we continue to fight this vice. In Kenya, we have made some very significant adjustments. We recently amended the anti-money laundering law to tighten it. We have put in place the bill that deals with the conflict of interest, so that if there's a conflict of interest, then it has to be declared so that we can stem any insider trading that would give somebody undue advantage. We have passed the virtual assets law to be able to deal with that space around the virtual assets and the trading and the mischief that could arise there. We continue to work with institutions like the IMF. We have just